Hey guys, Kevin Cleary here with a knife video, and today we're going to talk about the 10 best everyday carry knives as of 2017. Now, 5 years in the future, there could be some new knives that are released, or some of the knives on this list could be discontinued, and this could change, but I think all of these are pretty good, and most of them are going to be around for a long time. I want to say this before we get going. I asked this question over on a Facebook group that I'm a part of called Canadian Knife and Gear, CKG. And if you're not on that Facebook group, you should be, especially if you're Canadian. Now, I know if you're from the US, there are lots of other groups that you could be a part of, but if you're Canadian, you're watching this, check out that group. It's really, really good, and probably some watching are already in the group, and I'd love to hear that in the comments down below. I will put a link to that Facebook group in the description box here. Now, let me go ahead and get into this video in particular, and this is the knife that got me thinking about this. This is my custom mini Typhoon from Sharp by Design, and this knife I really designed to be a great EDC knife, and I really think that it is that. Or I picked the options. It's Brian Nadeau's design. I picked options that I thought would make it a great EDC knife, and I think it is fitting that bill very nicely. But in no way is this practical for most people to EDC. So what I want to do here is make a list of knives that I think are just fantastic everyday carry knives that I would not hesitate to recommend to anyone ever. That if you sent me a message and said, hey, should I buy this knife? I would just reply back, yes, 1,000 times yes, okay? And so that's kind of what I'm going for here. Now, with that said, I want to give you some criteria that I've used. I've used knives that are not too big, not too small. So around that 3.5-inch blade length is where I've tried to stick with this video. I've tried to stick with knives that are not too heavy and not too overbearing in the pocket. I've tried to stick with knives that have a versatile blade shape, okay? So not super thick, heavy duty blades, but not super thin, genteel, paring knife type blades either. All right, so I've tried to stick to easy to carry, very versatile, very well made, not crazy expensive, okay? Because I feel like there is a very, around 150 bucks, you hit that point where you get diminishing returns on your extra investment. So I've tried to keep it within, $100 to $200, and maybe some that are a little lower than that. And finally, if you're looking for an everyday carry knife, one of the things you really should look for is that it doesn't just work on paper, but that you love it, okay? Now, let me add one last point before we get into this. Some of these are going to be a little bit more expensive than the $50 budget knife. If you want a budget knife, I have tons of videos recommending budget knives. But this, I said, you know what, forget budget. This is going to be, hey, if you want something good, save up for it a little bit and you won't be disappointed. And generally speaking, I think that's a good principle, right? A knife like this is fantastic, and it probably is going to land about $80. For that $80, you're getting something really, really good. Now, I've avoided knives like this because this is not practical for most people, okay? And I've even avoided knives like this. Now, and this is one I put in here because it is a great size and shape for EDC, but it's very, very high on the price point. So I left this style of knife out of this list as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started with the top 10 recommended everyday carry knives. Beginning with number 1, what I think is one of the best EDC knives out there, the Cold Steel American Lawman. This thing is extremely tough and durable. The blade shape is super versatile. It will absolutely take a beating. It's CTS XHP steel, triad lock, so it's great, really, really strong, lightweight, super thin in pocket. Whoops, and then I failed to shut it. Just a great, great EDC knife. And so number 1 on the list is definitely the new version, the slim version of the Cold Steel American Lawman with the CTS XHP blade steel. Next up, again, is a knife that is going to surprise absolutely no one, and that is the Spyderco Paramilitary 2. Again, it's lightweight, it's very capable, it's well made. It's probably not quite as strong as the American Lawman that we just took a look at, but it's plenty durable enough for almost anything you're going to need to do with your EDC knife. All right, now the next knife is one I don't have. So if I got a knife I don't have, what I'm gonna do is, actually let's try and keep these on screen as we go. But what I'm gonna do is roll in pictures of the knives that I don't have, and I will try to roll in pictures. A lot of these I have reviewed, and so I'll try to get a picture of the knife that I used for my review. So the next one is going to be the Benchmade Freak. This is a new knife for this year. It's reminiscent, it's in the same family as the Benchmade Griptilian. It's a little lighter. The steel is better. The blade shape is the big difference. I love the blade shape on the Benchmade Freak, and I love the steel choice with the S30V. Plus, it's a little more lightweight than the Griptilian. So, fantastic knife, absolutely wonderful everyday carry knife, and it's at a reasonable price point. Like, I think they're around 115 bucks. So, not bad at all. And the Benchmade Freak definitely makes this list. Again, with no hesitation, I would recommend it. Let's see, number 4. Now, I've had a couple people ask me about this knife recently. I have had it, I have reviewed it. It's a great knife. In fact, I did a comparison between it and the Para 2, and that is the Spyderco Gail Bradley 2. Now, the Gail Bradley 1 was nice, and it's a cool knife, but it's a little more specialized. The Gail Bradley 2 is, thinner blade stock. It's a hollow grind. It's a liner lock. Wonderful knife. Absolutely, again, nearly perfect as an EDC knife, and in fact, I like the blade a little better than the blade on the PM2. So again, very, very highly recommended. Let's see, what are we going to do for number 5? Number 5, this is a great knife, another classic, the Kershaw Knockout. Now, I would say absolutely, guys. The Kershaw Knockout is my favorite Kershaw. I don't have one in the collection right now, but I really need to pick one up because they're not that expensive. So I'll probably find one, on the used market somewhere and grab it just for video purposes, for comparison purposes, because it's a wonderful knife. And so yeah, Kershaw Knockout, it's available in a number of variations, not too expensive. I think honestly, the best Kershaw as far as I'm concerned. Next up, now this is one that's maybe not my favorite knife in the world, but it is a incredibly popular knife, the Benchmade 940. Warren Osborn design, really, really cool, great blade shape, great size, just all the way around, super well-rounded knife. Pretty expensive, but the Benchmade 940 is so well loved, and there's a good reason for it. And so if that suits you, to me again, it's a little bit small, but if that suits you, I don't think you'll be disappointed with a Benchmade 940. Let's stick with Benchmade for number 7 and go with the 20CV Griptilian. So that's the Griptilian that came out last year with the gray handles, the gray and blue handles and the blue standoffs with the 20CV steel. That's a wonderful knife, guys. Really well put together. It's really what the Benchmade Griptilian should have always been. So I'm a little frustrated that they went and made it sort of a special knife. What they should do is just all Benchmade Griptilians should be constructed just like that, even if it doesn't have the 20CV steel. But again, I think it's worth the extra time to save up and jump up to the 20CV grip rather than the standard version with the FRN handles. If you're going to look at a standard version Griptilian, just go pick up a Freak. Let's see, number 8. This one I kind of have an example of. This is the Spyderco Mannix. Now this is the Mannix 2 XL, and I do love this knife. It's a really, really great knife, but this is not my recommendation, okay? Because for most people, a knife that's smaller than this is going to be more appropriate. And so I'm gonna recommend the Mannix 2 in the standard size, and either the lightweight or the normal, constructed. There's one that's constructed like this with the stainless steel liners, and then there's the lightweight with the FRN liners. I lean personally toward the one that's constructed like this, but again, even the lightweight is pretty good, and they're available in tons of different steels. Frankly, I'm most excited about the Maximet. I can't wait to get my hands on one of those Maximet knives, hopefully a Para 2. But again, just a wonderful, wonderful EDC. Next up on the list, I've got 2 more to go here, and then I'm going to have some honorable mentions. But the next one on the list, let's see if I can make some more room here, taking up all my space, is the steel wheel cut jack, but not this steel wheel cut jack, okay? I'm going to recommend as a great EDC the steel wheel cut jack in M390 and G10. You're getting a great steel, G10 handles, and then otherwise you're going to have a knife that's like this. And this is super ergonomic, very, very easy to carry, just a really, really nicely done knife. So this is the D2 version. This is the budget-friendly version. I think this is a great budget knife, no question. But in the M390 and G10, this is just a total win. Yes, you have to pay a little more for it, but here, I said that going in. I'm going to talk about knives that are worth saving for, okay? And I think the M390 cut jack is one of those. And then finally, number 10 is the zero tolerance. Hold on. Zero tolerance 0562. Now, This one, I honestly wrestled with this and the other pick, which is the Zero Tolerance 0770. And you know what? Let's actually change that. I'm going to say number 10. I'm not going to edit this, guys. I'm just going with it. Number 10 is the Zero Tolerance 0770. And I have rarely seen a knife more positively reviewed than the 0770. And I challenge you to do this, guys. Go out, Google this knife. Everyone who gets their hands on it absolutely loves it. It's a great size, a great weight, and a pretty good cost for everyday carry. And so I don't hesitate to recommend. I've only had them in hand a couple of times. They are comfortable in hand. I've yet to be able to review one, but so many people love this knife that it's going to go on my top 10, the Zero Tolerance 0770. Now, I want to make a few honorable mentions because there are some honorable mentions that I feel like I didn't quite include them for either cost reasons or because they were too specialized. And so let me go ahead and talk about those. Of course, one of them is the Recon 1. And this knife is a great knife. It's just a little big for most people's everyday carry. And because of that, I didn't put it on the list, but I do love it. I gotta tell you, I had this out in the woods yesterday and it performed like a champ. I was getting firewood ready and this thing was absolutely phenomenal in that role. Another honorable mention, and again, this is more of a budget option, is the Rat Model 1. And the reason I didn't put this on the list is because there are some sacrifices you have to make. So the D2 version is great, but the D2 is just a little bit softer than normally I'd like to see it heat treated. And the knife is a little big and heavy. So there are lots of knives of this size that give you the 3.5 inches of blade, but way less. Now, as a budget option, if this was the top 10 budget knives, this would absolutely be on the list. But remember, we're kind of throwing caution to the wind here, and we're saying, no, let's pick some knives that you could save up for, and that would be absolutely exceptional, where you're not making any sacrifices or very few. Next up on the list, the WE 615. Again, this is a little expensive to make this list, and that's why it didn't get on here, but it's a wonderful knife. And I think the WE 615 is the most well-rounded and most versatile of the WE knives that are in existence right now. Absolutely great knife, and I have reviewed it here. Spyderco Domino, another one, again, a little too expensive, but great EDC. The Spyderco Slish Bowie, again, a little expensive, but great EDC. So there you go. Those are my honorable mentions. I would love to hear some further mentions in the comments of knives. You know, maybe I'm totally blanked on something that really should have been on the list. The other thing I want to hear is if you're in a good Facebook group that you recommend for gear guys, go ahead and give them some love down in the comments below as well. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will talk to you soon.